Technology connects you, but you've never felt more disconnected. Caught up in your head and in your past, weighed down by worry, frustration, fear, disappointment. You do what you can just to get by. But what if there was another way? Is It Time to Love is a video series dedicated to helping you reconnect with your heart and live free of old beliefs, pain, ego, and judgment. Journey with beloved journalist Scottie G. Hines and spiritual teacher and Akashic Records consultant Lisa Wetzel as they help you uncover a path back to your true self. A path back to love.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. How you feeling?
I'm good.
Okay. How is the heart connected to the soul and vice versa?
The soul is an intricate part of the universal consciousness. When you begin to gain the understanding of what the soul is the existence of all that is. It has the connection to all that's in the universe and all that resides upon the earth. It's the creation to connect all. So when, and I'm laughing, I'm going, yeah, I think we got the point. And so when you begin to gain the understanding that the existence of all that is, that resides in each and every human being, resides in the soul, and the soul resides within all, you'll begin to gain the understanding of how the interconnectedness resides within each of you. As you allow your life to flow forward with the guidance or in the guidance of the soul's connection, you'll begin to recognize how all is interconnected in the human body as well. And what I'm saying is that all of the components of the body are interconnected with the soul's consciousness, which in return is connected to the universe.
Everyone has a soul.
Everyone has a soul. And they're laughing except for a few. There are specific instances where the soul chooses to no longer reside within the body if the body isn't cooperating with the needs and the desires that it has. So basically what it's talking about is that every human being has a soul that arrives with them upon the earth. However, if the human chooses to reside in a way that is not congruent to the needs of that specific soul, the soul may be interchanged with another or leave completely and allow the human being to exist upon the earth's plane with the mind's consciousness only.
Oh, you're trying to walk in.
They're laughing and saying, huh? What? So they don't know the term walk in.
Some call it a walk in.
Well, they're laughing and saying, basically it's a walk out.
Okay. But another soul walks in.
Yeah, so what they're saying is that the humans, that if the soul leaves, and then that's the walk out.
Okay.
If another soul chooses to reside over that body at that time, then it's a new soul that resides within. So it's a walk in.
What if a new soul doesn't want to walk in?
Then they exist without the soul at all. So they live in their mind only. That there's not that soul's creation that resides within that human body in the form that we are used to. But what you need to recognize is that there is an evilness that resides upon the earth that exists soulless. And when you begin to recognize that if the human's needs is more conscious in the mind and the delivery of that evil, then you'll begin to recognize that the soul can no longer congruently function within that human being's existence upon this earth. It will choose to leave at that time. So what I'm talking about in evil is basically doing harm to others and living in a way that is not congruent to what the human soul is in relation to.
Yes.
So basically it's like the mind takes over completely.
Yeah.
And ignores every signal or every bit of communication from the soul. And so the soul
gets scared and the soul leaves?
No, it doesn't get scared.
Okay.
It can't complete its mission.
Okay.
And so it's no longer worthy. And the human body isn't serving its purpose to the soul.
But does the soul then have the option then for that life, whatever body it's inhabiting, whatever life it's inhabiting, where aren't there certain out points where that person dies, and the soul leaves the body?
Yes.
So you're saying that the soul has the option to leave the body without the person dying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it chooses to go on, they're saying let's break it down to the fundamentals.
Okay.
Okay, the fundamentals of life on Earth.
How did we get down this rabbit hole? Like, how are we all of a sudden talking about walk-ins and walkouts?
How humans are selected in order for the soul to reside within each and every human being is the life path that human is meant to take. What we want you to understand is that the soul has a specific mission that it has set forth in order to gain the knowledge and the understanding that it needs in its existence to move forward down the path it needs to become enlightened.
Okay.
What we want you to know is that you can choose many paths as a human being to either become enlightened or not. But what we want you to understand is that the human nature and the conflict that resides within the mind can create much detriment to the growth of the soul. The soul is the priority of the human body, and what we want you to understand is that the contract or the agreement that the soul has with the human body when it enters into the human being upon life is the agreement that the soul and the mind would work together in order to achieve the direction the soul is meant to take. When you begin to recognize that minds of the human can become corrupt and no longer follow the instruction that is set forth by the human soul, then the soul can take the exit or the out in order to find or establish a new human body to gain the need that it has in order for it to grow.
That makes sense.
Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
The mind, not the mind, I'm sorry, the heart and the soul. How are they connected?
The heart and the soul are connected as one. As the universal light that resides within the soul is intertwined with the meaning and the purpose of the heart, we call it the heart's soul. The heart soul is one combined unit. In order for the unit to be complete, the mind and the soul must work together. The intermediary, or the soul's signal, basically, the heart serves as a transmitter.
Okay.
So as the signals are given to the soul and the heart connect as one, and the transmission of messages are sent through the heart to the mind for the mind to interpret.
In order for the soul to accomplish what it set out to accomplish, it can't do it without the heart.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So because the heart serves as the transmitter, basically, and I'm hearing like a beep 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 beep, and I'm actually seeing like a submarine, and so how the submarine connects with the sources around it.
Yes.
You know, the headquarters or whatever. You know, there's a transmission. There's the language, the beep beeps that are sent from the ship to wherever it needs to go in order to get directions or send a message or whatever. So the heart is what receives the messages from the soul, and then the heart transmits the message to the mind.
Okay.
It's up to the mind to transcribe or to receive and interpret the messages that the heart's sending.
Yes.
Which goes into if the mind is blocked or has a belief system that's not allowing those transmissions to come from that heart space to the mind, and then the mind interpret them correctly.
Okay.
That's where the disconnect comes in.
Okay. The beep 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 happens, like, right? A new experience is happening. The mind wants to attach to the old story. The old story starts to activate. So it's literally just training the mind, retraining the mind.
Untraining the mind. It's a blockage.
That's it, but that's it.
Yeah. It's a blockage to prevent the flow of energy.
When the heart's not able to communicate with the mind, what's at stake? Like, how does that affect the average person?
We're saying life. Okay, so what you need to recognize is that the life will become chaotic, uncomfortable. There won't be any happiness. There'll be no peace and solitude. When you begin to recognize that the mind has created the way of living, then you'll begin to recognize how chaos has been created. And, it's living in our head, not in our heart. We've heard this saying, forever. I mean, it's always been a saying.
Yeah.
Get out of your head.
Yeah.
Find your heart.
Which can be so cliche though. Like it can be so like, yeah, duh. Like everyone says it. But until you actually like know it, like really know it, like in your being.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right. It's just words.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so just like spirit needs the heart, spirit also needs the mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in which we know if a person lives their life making decisions completely from their mind and their belief systems, we know that there's always chaos.
Yeah.
We always know that there's heartbreak. There's always disappointment. All of those things that lead to an unhappy life. It's always created in the mind.
Yeah.
What the heart is congruent in doing is recognizing the needs of the human, and the heart and the soul connection creates those needs. And what I'm hearing, it's the needs of the human, not the wants.
Okay.
Okay.
Unpack there for me.
Okay, so the
Needs
wants,
versus
the
wants.
wants are the desires of one another that's been created by the illusion of disbelief of the truth of who they are.
Okay.
So when you recognize that the belief systems that have been put upon one another by the guidance of others, it will lead to the illusion of what would lead to happiness or create that one's happiness. And where the truth lies is within the heart's knowledge of what is meant for that human being and how they can be guided to that happiness.
The word that pops in my head is mirage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the mirage in the minds.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the mind creates the illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the needs? Like what does that constitute?
The heart's desire. The
so
needs of the heart's desire
Okay.
is what we want you to know and what we want you to understand. So the needs of the human being is to find the simplicity of one's life and truly live in that existence of understanding who they are, what they're meant to be, and who they can become. And this is what we create. We have created a life for every human being upon this earth to live in the existence of who we have created them to be, which is the guidance that we give them on a daily basis, but they choose to resist or ignore what those messages are. And that's what creates the unhappiness.
Okay.
If a human mind could truly be congruent with all that is, then the human mind would begin to recognize that it can resolve or give in to the existence of our guidance. And when we mention guidance, what we're speaking of is the truth of that existence. So when the existence lives upon the earth in that purest form of a human being, you will find that the human behavior will begin to change that creates harmony and not heartache. And this is what we want you all to understand. What our mission upon the earth is at this specific time is to create an understanding that all human beings are meant here to love one another, not hate. When one begins to gain the understanding that they don't have to live in an existence of hatred and anger, that they can truly live in the understanding of heart and harmony, then they'll begin to gain the understanding of how peaceful it is to walk upon the earth and love one another instead of the consistent fighting and arguing and perpetual negativity or disharmony that's been created by the human mind. And this is what we want you to understand. Every human being upon this earth, in this plane of existence, can live in this harmony if they choose to do so.
And again, the only place where we're able to access that peace and harmony is in the loneliness or silence.
The solitude
Or heart, the solitude of the heart.
The solitude of one's true specific being.
The solitude of one's true being.
Specific being.
Specific being.
And I don't know why they said specific.
Okay.
They're saying because we want to make a point in recognizing that you are specific, that each and every individual is specific
Unique.
to their own journey and their own life. There are no duplicates. There is not one individual that is placed upon the earth that is to live or to exist in the same timeline or pattern of another. You are all created to live coherently with one another in your own true nature of who you are meant to be. This is our guidance, and this is the gift of you.
So when they say in God's image,
God's image is independent. It's independent.
Okay.
Okay, so when we think about God, we think about God as an independent source. We don't ever think about that understanding that God is connected directly, like what we were talking about. The strings are not attached with God to every human being that's on this planet. God is an independent source. God is his own energy, that energy that resides within. They're laughing and saying, do you think anybody's going to tell God how to live? That would be no. No one is telling God how to live, and God is not telling anyone how to live. God has given you, all human beings, the freedom to have the choice and the decisions that you wish to make as he will live
Why do
his life.
Why do they say he?
Because it's a masculine energy.
Okay.
I did not know that. Okay, but also recognize.
But I thought creation. See, this is where I get confused with the masculine and the feminine. But I get so triggered when I constantly hear people, reference God as a he.
Okay, let's go back there because
Okay.
I'm curious about that.
Okay.
So what we want you to understand is that God is the creation of the universal manifestation of the existence. When we begin to gain the understanding of who and what God is, then you'll begin to gain a better understanding of what the creation of all is about. What we want you to understand is that God is the direct source of all of creation. He is of the masculine energy, which simply means that a woman cannot have a child if you don't have the male. That specific seed or gift is what is the creation of life. Okay? So we as a female, we're the holder of life, but it has to come from the male source.
Okay.
Did not know this. Okay, so when you begin to recognize that we refer to God as a he, it is because he is that seed of creation.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So when you begin to recognize that all around God's creation is the gift of life, the holding of life, the earth, that's why earth is called Mother Earth, because earth is what creates life as in its physical form. Okay?
Okay.
This is good.
Keep
okay. This is not
If
where
you're excited,
I'm
not. Like,
I've never heard this before.
Okay.
So what we want you all to understand is that the creator of life comes from that source of God energy. What we have implanted upon you as humans is that you were created by the holder or the source of bringing life full force, which is the earthly balance. Yes.
Okay.
So earth creates the plants and the animals and and us humans, because we're on this earthly realm. That's Mother Earth.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's all falling together.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
It's coming full circle.
Because the earth is the womb.
Yes.
Okay, but in order to create whatever the womb is creating, it has to have the seed of life, which is created from the male energy.
Okay.
And that's where the balance is.
Okay.
That's the balance of all that is.
God, it's so good.
You did not know this.
What were we talking about?
I don't know, but anyway, that's good information. But also recognize, because I want to make sure that this is clear, that they're saying it, it's not just me. God is not a source of one image. God is a billion beings that have created life. It's not the biblical version of God. And they're saying God has no wrath. There's no such thing.
Yes.
Humans are the wrath. They're the ones that create. what is to be punished and who's to be punished, not God, not the God source. What we want you to understand is that the significance of your life on this earth at this time is of the utmost importance. We only want you to focus on who you are today and where you are, not any other timeline.
So right here, right now.
Yeah.
And how does the mind block that connection to the heart?
How does the mind block?
How does the mind block that connection to the heart?
Disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Not believing that there's a true connection to who and what we are and what exists within. It's the training of the brain to believe only what the brain can believe, and meaning it only believes the human version or the human conditioning.
Right.
So when you begin to recognize, they're laughing and saying,
And the brain is the actual physical, like the actual part of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's the physical.
Brain, physical.
Yeah, that's
mind,
the physical part.
Non-physical.
Yeah. So they're saying, use the example of talking to anybody on the street.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk up to somebody and you ask them, "Are you fully aware that you have a soul that resides within you?"
Mm-hmm.
Ask them what their response is,
Mm-hmm.
and then depending on what their response is, ask them, do you recognize that your mind controls you, or do you recognize that your heart controls you?
Mm.
What decisions are you making?
Mm-hmm.
How are you living your life?
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of the human race will rely on the choices and decisions made from the mind, not recognizing that the true presence of us, of all that is truly residing within them. And I'm saying it may be a concept that individuals have heard, but truly understanding and believing that concept is from another nature,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that you can tell me that, yes, I have a soul within me, but I still consistently make my choices and decisions from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the understanding of how to truly integrate that truth and that understanding
Mm-hmm.
it's a pattern very difficult for humans to understand.
Yes.
They're saying there's a lot of fear with truly allowing that knowledge of the soul, of that, they're calling it inner dimension, of the inner dimension wisdom
Mm-hmm.
to come forward and fall into the path of decision making by truth and not by analytical reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we are.
And so it's not about taking a magic. There's no magic potion. There's no overnight quick fix.
No. They're laughing and saying there could be an overnight quick fix if an individual had an awakening
Mm-hmm.
that gave them the introspection or the understanding of the truth of all that is,
Mm-hmm.
which is what resides within them. So what I'm seeing is that people that have near-death experiences,
okay.
or if something happened that allowed you to truly recognize that greater spirit, that greater inner essence of who you are, that could at least make their curiosity
Yes.
turn around.
But for most of
Then-
us, it's going to be an incremental.
It's going to be
growth,
incremental. Yes,
change.
yeah, it is. But
Or illness,
Yeah.
accident,
yeah, and they're laughing and saying, "Look at the world in the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's happened over the last 4 years up to today?" To help people understand that there may be something else that's going on in this big picture, and how they're changing their belief systems and their thoughts, which are creating that congruency and that more connectedness to the soul's knowledge and that understanding and spirit. But what the recognition needs to be is to understand that it actually truly exists, because a lot of people, they may hear the words, just like what we've talked about. You hear the words and you've heard the stories, but do I truly believe it? I don't know. Do I truly believe that? So again, and that's where the complication comes in, where you can truly allow yourself to let go of these belief systems. Because if you do that, you have to trust that there's an inner guidance that's in you. And you have to have that knowing that you will be guided, that you can have this understanding of universal consciousness, and that it is possible for you to get there. Again, because it comes down to fear.
Yeah.
how in the world could I live my life without making conscious decisions from my head?
Yeah. I think where a lot of people get into, or where I've gotten into trouble, is that I've relied more on other people or words or books, or, you know, it's like intellectually I know it.
Yeah.
But until I actually have an experience or a series of experiences, there's no way for me to integrate it and
Yeah.
to truly know it.
And that's actually right. It's a knowing. You know, you can be told all day long, and this is in anything that we do. We can read the books, we can understand it, but until you can actually grasp the concept and put it to work, it's something simple as like doing math. And you can learn the basics of math, you can get it, but until you actually apply it, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
So when you can begin to truly understand and live that life, trust it, and then see they're using the word, the miraculous abilities or possibilities that can come from trusting and knowing that truth is in you. Then you'll begin to recognize that,
I get excited thinking about it.
That you can begin to let go of your mind's thoughts and those belief patterns and those things that we've been conditioned to, how we've been conditioned to live.
Yeah.
But again, it's that point of practicing. You have to practice it, and you have to trust, and you have to take a chance. You have to step that foot outside of that box and just say, okay, well, what's going to happen if I do this? And take a chance on doing it. And so for the majority of humans on the earth, there has to begin with recognizing that there's something that is within us that is a greater force and a greater source than just what our head is and our beliefs that we've been conditioned to grow up in and to be in.